I'm not going to smush your brain in by overloading it and putting everything into it. So when we left it the last day, we left it here. No, did I delete the wrong one? Please don't tell me I deleted the wrong one. Pooh Bear. So apologies. But the last day when we left it, we had done the left hand side and it was all red because it was all about energy. So this time I'm going to start on this portion over here and it gets the exact same start. So you're not writing anything. It's in the wrong place now for my left hand. So this is the part you had written yesterday. So light was absorbed by chlorophyll. Electrons become high energy electrons and they're picked up by an electron acceptor. Okay, so that's the part that you had yesterday. I am going to now just slightly change this to make it smaller for me. So I'm just going to put the chlorophyll over here and I am going to put my electron acceptor down here. Now, so we've come down this side. One version of it went this way and the other version of it's going to be over on this right hand side. So I'm just going to change where I'm going to start to talk about pathway 2 and I'm going to put it roughly in the middle over toward this right hand side. So one of the things that happens in pathway 2 is water gets split up by light. So it's called photolysis when we get there and it makes 3 products. So one up the top, one out the bottom and one out the right. I'm going to deal with the one out the right first. So can you remember the final equation that we did in respiration? That final electron acceptor. When it comes out of the electron transport chain, we write an equation. Can you remember what that was? The very, very bottom of the electron transport chain, that, what's the word I'm looking for? The little kind of washing machines where it's kicking out and it's releasing energy. The very last equation that we said is the thing that makes it aerobic respiration. Anyone remember what it is?
Oxygen.
The one with the oxygen. Can you remember what it is?
The
electrons and protons,
yeah,
and oxygen give water.
Okay, so electrons and protons and oxygen give water. So it's the exact same. So you're not writing this. This is just for you to see it. So that is always the combination that A makes water, or if you split water up, they are the things you get from it. So in the second pathway for plants, when water gets hit by light in the leaf, it is split up into high energy electrons. It is split up. My white is black. It is split up to protons, and these protons, they live in what's called a proton pool. All that just means is there's like a whole load of them together until they're needed. And so my white is black and the oxygen gets made. And we said yesterday oxygen ends up in 2 places. Can anyone remember what they are? Same places where the plant gets carbon dioxide from. Be brave.
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere. And where's the second place? Or what's the use the plant might have for it? Respiration. Okay. So I can't fill respiration in there, but you can. So I'm going to deal with the top now. So red yesterday was all about our high energy electrons, and it's the exact same ending as pathway 1 in that they go through an electron transport chain. So that is those little washing machine things. And they end up returning to chlorophyll. We had in our little pathway 1 yesterday, we had the kick out where it was energy, and that energy is used to make ATP, and that ATP is specifically going to be used in the dark stage. So this top bit is pathway 1, and the only difference is the source of the electrons. So yesterday in pathway 1, the chlorophyll over here was the source for the electrons, but they are now going to get caught up on the bottom of pathway 2. So that's one of the big differences between pathway 1 and pathway 2, in that it's a non-cyclic pathway. The electrons come from the photolysis of water. So my white is black. So you now know something other than making water that happens with protons. Can anyone predict from the electron acceptor over here and the protons over here what might be happening, or what might I make? Electrons and protons. So we need something that's going to be a carrier of electrons and protons. And we need something that's
NADP.
NADP. So NADP plus. So down here what we're going to have is we're going to have NADP plus is going to be around in our grana, and that is literally going to come here and it's going to steal the electrons from the electron acceptor. And it technically adds 2 electrons. You don't need to know it, it'll be enough to know it'll add 2 electrons, but if I add 2 electrons, I make NADP minus, and that is going to combine with some protons here, and it's going to make us NADPH for the dark stage. So the electrons come from chlorophyll, the protons come from the photolysis of water, and I make NADPH for the dark stage. So this is our pathway 2. What color haven't we used? We'll use green. So this is pathway 2. They sometimes use Roman numerals for it. It is non-cyclic, and that's referring to the enzyme or to the electrons, because it's not a whole pathway made of red. So it's a non-cyclic pathway, and they call it photophosphorylation. And so the photo meaning light, so that's the light splitting up the water, and phosphorylation for the making of the ATP.
Miss,
Yes.
Can you read the red part at the top that's covered by your volume thing?
Okay, so it says high energy electrons. It's an arrow, it says electron transport chain. Can I move that? Does that make it better? Can't hear you, Jill.
I still can't see the top of it where it says movie recording.
Oh, okay, apologies. So it's the arrows kicking out, it says energy, and then, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So it's ATP for the dark stage. So for pathway 2, you talk about it. Essentially, we always start with the water, the photolysis of water to make our 3 things. Then we break it onto what happens to oxygen, what happens to the electrons, what happens to the protons. Okay, we'll put it in words and then we'll see where we go. Okay, we ready to try writing the blurb? Take your silence as a... Can I change my share?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, new share. Okay, you can see it now. Alrighty, so you're on page 214. I'm going to try and color code it for you. So we have our high energy electrons.
Miss, the same thing is still on the screen.
Okay, thanking you. That better? Thank you. So high energy electrons, and they're going to be picked up by your electron acceptor. So doing that in red to match your bit. And then we're going to start changing colors. So high energy electron, you have this writing, so they combine with, and my white is black, NADP plus. So the original electrons can't return to chlorophyll. So water splits. It's called photolysis. Photolysis. So photo meaning light and lysis means to split. So light splitting. And it forms, we will go with oxygen. We will go with protons. And what do we say? Electrons are red. So photolysis electrons, they return to chlorophyll. So we're talking about the red at the top. And they replace those last two NADP plus. Oop. I want to do that. Don't know what's going on. Okay, you're losing energy. Why are you not writing anymore now? Okay, so I'm going to leave that there for a second. So I'm going to get rid of my first sentence down to the first 3 bullet points, if that's okay. Why won't you let me do that now? Okay, what color do we need? Red. So this energy is used to convert ADP plus P to ATP for the dark stage.
Miss, what do you mean by the photolysis electrons return to chlorophyll and replace those? Like, what's that sentence?
So, give me a second, save and close. So this is what this means. These are photolysis electrons. If you want to just put photolysis above them, and we'll put it in blue. These are the photolysis electrons because they're made from splitting of water. Whereas over here, the electrons that came in originally from here they come just from your chlorophyll. So because those electrons get caught up in your NADP plus, if that kept happening and they weren't replaced, then photosynthesis would stop, because there's only so many electrons that are present. So you have to keep replacing the electrons, and in pathway 2 the replacement comes from up here, from the water splitting, and those electrons return to chlorophyll, so then that they can be kicked out for pathway 1 or pathway 2 again. Does that make sense, Miles?
Yeah.
No, wrong place. Okay, so we have said, so pathway 2 in terms of its description. So pathway 2 can be described as what's called the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So the things it's telling us here are the original electrons don't return. It is telling us that water is split by light, and it also tells us that ATP is made. So our next bit is remember my white is black, so I'm going to change this and write it in full word. So photolysis protons, so they're the things that come down the arrow down the bottom of the water. Photolysis protons join a pool of protons, so that just means there's loads of them there. And then we have so photolysis proton combines with NAD. I haven't done my D or my D very well. NADP minus to form NADPH. I'm not writing my D's very well today, I apologize. And again, that is for the dark stage. And the last part of this is going to be in blue, and photolysis oxygen can be lost to the atmosphere or used in respiration. Now there is a lot going on there. Alrighty, so we have the little table at the bottom of the page on page 214. So tell me please, I have 3 end products for the light stage. What am I going to fill in? Don't all speak at once. So 3 things that you make in the light stage. You can do this.
ATP.
Okay, so we're going to make ATP, and what does ATP's job? Usually, no matter what the context.
Fire of energy.
Yep, so it's going to supply energy for the dark stage. Next thing we're going to make, or next thing that's made in light stage.
NADPH.
Okay, and what's NADPH's job?
A carrier of the energy.
So no, NADPH has a different job. So ATP does energy always. NADPH supplies what?
Energy, electrons and protons.
Yep. So NADPH. So our ATP is going to supply energy for the dark stage, and that ATP, is going to go to the stroma. The NADPH are going to supply protons and electrons for the dark stage, and again they are going to go to the stroma because that's where the dark stage happens. And there's one other thing that's made in the light stage. What is it?
Oxygen.
Yep. And what is the fate of oxygen? ATE. What is its fate? What happens to it?
It's used in respiration.
Is one. And second thing?
It goes into the atmosphere of the air.
It does. So it can be used for respiration or released into atmosphere. So the last thing that we're going to do this morning is just at the top. It's on page 215 for me, is just highlight photolysis, because they can ask that as a standalone question, and it's a really little important part of the process. Okay, would it be okay to move forward? I can see 7 heads. So Rebecca, Miles, Sean, Cam, Sarah, Jill, Emily. Happy to move? Lads, I can see the sign from here. So we have photolysis of water. If you want to put this in blue, I'm going to change my screen if that's okay, and then it'll match your colors. So yeah, come on.
Miss, does ATM mean atmosphere?
Atmosphere is just my shorthand for atmosphere. You would be better off writing the full word. So for our photolysis of water, it's going to divide into 3 things. Over here on the right, we're going to just put the oxygen, and we're putting it in blue. And it is a byproduct because it's not needed for the dark stage, and it ends up in the atmosphere or used in respiration. Our second product is the high energy electrons. And their job is that they're going to return to chlorophyll, because if that doesn't happen, then the whole process will stop eventually. And they also release energy, making ATP. And my white is black. We end up with protons and they reside in a proton pool, and they are used to make NADPH. Now a couple of questions have pinged for you. You're either practicing the blurb or you're practicing the pathways diagrams, one of the two, but you need to know to be able to at least begin to access the questions. If you have any issues, you get in touch. And if it's okay with you, then we will leave it there. Do you have any questions? No, we're happy chappies and lovely ladies. Okay. Alright then, lovely to see everybody. So we will see each other, I think it's Friday, isn't it?